It's no use. Spider-Man can't stop thinking about Gwen, who moved to London a few issues back. He's seeing her face everywhere. He needs to go visit her, and for that, he needs money, and so Peter Parker makes the foolish decision to ask Jonah Jameson for a loan. But then, just outside Jonah's office door, he comes to his senses. Luckily, Robbie Robertson is around and sees how sad Peter is. And since he's city editor, and I guess London is technically a city, he agrees to bankroll Peter's trip to London, providing that Peter brings back some photographs. Peter is so excited that he races to Aunt May so that she doesn't worry when he's gone, ignores Mary Jane wearing a costume for a new show, and then a few hours later he's being dropped off at the airport by Harry Osborn. But he has no idea what he's going to say to Gwen when he sees her. We're reading every Spider-Man ever, and this is the Amazing Spider-Man issue 95, Trap for a Terrorist. On the plane to London, Peter Parker meets a young boy, travelling with his dad. It's the kid's first flight, and he's keen for everyone to know that his dad is a Gov'mint Man, an American delegate. And Peter recognises him. That's Herbert Knowles, one of the delegates to the peace talks. And that's a foreboding person to have on the flight. And true enough, their arrival in London is met by an announcement from the pilot. Apparently a bomb has been placed underneath the landing ramp by some terrorists, and no one is to disembark before their demands are met, or it will be detonated. But fortunately, the plane has Spider-Man on board, and he sneaks away to a washroom to change and then smashes out of the fuselage. Before the terrorists can figure out who he is or what he can do, Spider-Man kicks the landing ramp away and the bomb goes off without a soul hurt. But as the passengers disembark the plane, gunfire is heard and a car races away after seizing the American delegate and his son. Spidey swings back into action, leaping at the car and tagging the roof with a spider tracer before being surprised by the car's sliding roof, leaping backwards and hitting the ground as the car races away. Before he could sneak away to change, Spider-Man is met by Inspector Hargreaves. Hargreaves is impressed and explains that the terrorists want some men freed from prison. When Hargreaves asks for more information about Spider-Man, Spidey loses his temper and swings away. But the inspector isn't concerned. Spider-Man is a stranger alone in their city, and it should be simple enough to keep him under surveillance. And so, alone, Spider-Man swings through London, crisscrossing the city in search of a car with a sliding roof. At one point, as he hides his clothes on a rooftop, his spider sense begins to tingle, and he doesn't realise it's because Gwen has spotted him, and thinks that Spider-Man has chased her across the ocean before she faints. Unaware of all of this, Spider-Man spots the car that he's looking for. He sets up his camera to make sure that Robbie gets something from the trip, and swings down to deal with the terrorists. He dodges gunfire, pulls people out of cars, and when they're all knocked out and the delegate and his son are not in the car, Spider-Man grabs the first terrorist awake and demands to know where they are. But the terrorist won't say, simply telling Spider-Man that they will die at 7 o'clock, that their fate is sealed by time itself. And then Inspector Hargreaves is there and the police take over. The inspector tells Spider-Man that they won't be meeting the demands of the kidnappers, and so Spider-Man has 2 hours left to find the delegate and his son. Swinging across the city, Spider-Man is desperate as time ticks away. But then he remembers what the terrorists said, that their fate was sealed by time itself, and that gives Spider-Man an idea. Big Ben. With 2 minutes to spare, he swings up and into Big Ben and finds that he's right, that the delegate and his son are tied to Big Ben itself, which is the bell inside the clock tower, and they're wired up to automatically explode when the hands hit 7. To gain time, Spider-Man webs up those hands before untying the hostages and getting them to safety. And with them safe, he's able to go back and defuse the bomb, saving the famous monument too. With everybody safe, Spider-Man becomes Peter Parker once more, and finally has a chance to see Gwen like he wanted to from the very beginning. But as he emerges from an alley, he discovers that the incredibly quick British news is already reporting on Spider-Man's daring rescue. And if he goes to visit Gwen now, she'll easily be able to put 2 and 2 together and realise that Peter is Spider-Man. And elsewhere, Gwen is seeing that news on the television and realising that she was wrong about Spider-Man, that maybe he isn't so bad. If only Peter were here, she says, to help her with her confusion. If only he loved her enough. She doesn't know that he loved her enough to come all the way to England and not see her. Thanks for watching and joining me on this journey to read every Spider-Man comic ever. Next week, Stan Lee ignores the Comics Code Authority, but until that issue, here's a fun fact about this one. This story is likely inspired by the real-life kidnapping of Charles Burke Elbrick, an American ambassador to Brazil who was kidnapped in 1969 by a terrorist organization known as MR8.